Senator Begich.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize to the panel. I'm going to have to leave after my questions, but for me, this is not only an important discussion. My father perished in a plane crash, so I'm very familiar with the issues and the impact it can have on a family, so I appreciate you all here today. I have, from Alaska's perspective, it is, the small plane capital of the world. I mean, small planes are like vehicles. That's how we get around. And so as we think of safety issues, we have to keep that in perspective, and especially in rural areas, and how we deal with that. So I am very aware of what that could be an impact. But I want to follow up on a couple questions. And it was intriguing to me as I was listening to the recommendations. And Mr. Babbitt, we've had some good conversations in regards to the FAA and your new role, and you've kind of come in with a fire hose coming at you. But I want to make sure I understood what you said, and then I saw your body language, so I'm going to try to connect the two here. I can't imagine you would make recommendations that are not necessarily recommendations you're looking to have implemented. So I want to make sure I heard you right, and that is if the NTSB is making a recommendation, my assumption is you want to see elements or those implemented, yes or no?
That is correct, sir.
Because, Mr. Babbitt, what I heard you say was not all of them are they looking to have implemented. I just heard, and I don't think you meant that, but I want to make sure I'm clear, because as soon as you said that, I saw, I don't want to say recoil, but I saw a movement. And so can you just clarify that, make sure we're on the same page here, because otherwise they shouldn't make the recommendations if they're not going to be implemented.
No, that's a valid clarification that you'd seek. I spent time, as I mentioned, for 4 months with this IRT, and on that IRT was the former chairman of the NTSB, Carl Vogt. And in our discussions, we talked about this, that there are a number of recommendations, and they're excellent. I mean, the NTSB does a great job, and it's a great arm to help us enhance safety. But we heard a statistic that the FAA adopts somewhere in the range of 82, 85, some percentage, not all. And that's where, the Honorable former Chairman Vogt said, we have an obligation to report everything.
And that's where I wanted to make sure we were clear. That other 18, 15% is the question is, what happened?
Yes, sir.
And for not only for NTSB to know, but for the public to know why you didn't implement those.
Precisely.
And is it, what are the reasons, and then where do you go from there? That's
right.
what.
And that was the point I tried to say. Perhaps I didn't make it clear.
Well, I saw a recoil occur, so I wanted to make sure we're all clear here. But I want to make sure that your policy that you're going to implement, not look at, but you're going to implement, is that percentage that is not taken into as a full recommendation. You're going to respond in some way that the NTSB can see that and the public can see why.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that will then obviously draw some other potential pathway, maybe or maybe not, depends on what happens.
Yes, sir.
Good. I want to, I'm struggling, and the chairman just said it again about the salary levels. I struggle with this because I know in our state, we passed, and I don't want the regionals start to call me after I make this comment, so regionals who are representing the audience, please don't call me. But I know it won't work, but we had school bus driver incidences, quite a few, and we made a requirement of a certain pay level, a minimum pay level, in order to ensure we have the quality and that they're not taking second jobs or third jobs or whatever it might be. It has had a very positive impact. Is that a discussion by anyone who wants to comment on this? And I'll start maybe with you, Mr. Babbitt, of discussion? Because $16,000, and just assume it's a full year pay, is just barely above minimum wage.
Yes, sir. I think the carrier did correct that minimum. It was about $23,000, if I recall.
Okay, so it's just now, instead of $7.69 an hour, it's about $8.10, maybe $8.10 an hour. So.
It might surprise you that there are major carriers who start pilots at that number. There are.
That does surprise me, to be very frank with you.
Now, there are some that start considerably higher than that.
Sure.
There are some major carriers flying, large airplanes under Part 121 that start that low. You know, this is an area, I think, you know, Captain Skullenberger mentioned it in testimony before. It is a concern. I know that, you know, the era that I was hired in, very badly dating myself into the 60s, but probably half of the people that were hired when I was hired as a pilot not only came out of the military, half of them came out of military academies. So we had a wonderful pool. Right. Of course, the service at that time was training, you know, we had 50,000 pilots flying in Vietnam. So we had a lot of veterans, we had a lot of very seasoned people. They came with discipline, and they were well trained, they were well educated. They had other options. So if you wanted a pilot like that, you were going to pay because they had other options. They could go be an engineer, they could go into another profession.
Sure. But it's an area of interest.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment on it? Does that sound, does anyone disagree with that that's an area that has to be looked at? Scoville?
Senator, I will note that the committee has asked my office to examine pilot pay.
Excellent.
It's an important factor, as several members of the committee have pointed out, as an influencer on the question of fatigue, and also perhaps as a proxy for the question of experience and how that will relate to performance in the cockpit.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
As we continue our investigation of the Colgan accident, facts will continue to be analyzed, and we could end up with some form of recommendation dealing with fatigue that could also have relevance to low pay scales.
Compensation issues. Okay.
Yes. Senator, if I may, if you refer back to our statement we submitted for the record, there's a copy of reference in there of a Blue Ribbon Panel report. This report was stimulated by hearings held by this committee back in 1990. That report covers pre-employment requirements for airlines. It covers salary ranges for pilots. It covers what kind of basic training should be provided by the civilian flight schools, because at that time the primary reason for the report was the committee's interest in why there was such a drain on military pilots. So I think if we would look at that report again, we'll find that the 13 recommendations made by that particular panel speak directly to the issues that we're talking about today.
Very good.
That was back in 1990.
Thank you very much. And this, I'll end on this. My time has expired, but I hope this is just a yes or no, and that is for each one of you. I'll start, Mr. Babbitt, I'll start with you. Do you believe you have the necessary resources within the organizations you work in to do the job with regards to safety?
Yes, sir, I do. And having said that, we depend heavily on input from a number of the people here. We certainly respect what the IG has to say. We certainly respect what the NTSB has to say. And with those tools together, yes, sir.
Scoville?
Generally, I would agree, certainly. The programs that FAA has in place, properly implemented, would allow it to exercise proper safety oversight. Okay. It's always a question of execution and implementation versus the plan itself.
Sir, the FAA is doing as good a job as it can possibly do. I believe these are well-intentioned people. These people care about safety as much as any of us here do. But they have a lot to do. They have the objective and the mission of making sure that our aviation system is as safe as it possibly can be. And with that, it will take oversight. It will take new 21st century equipment, and that comes with money. And I'm not here to lobby on behalf of my colleague, because I could use a little money for my organization at the same time.
So the answer is simply a little bit helps.
A lot would help these people.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And last question, Mr. O'Brien. Anything on your
In
end?
spite of what Administrator Babbitt may have indicated, I believe the FAA could do much more with a little bit more help.
Excellent. I thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony. And again, from a personal perspective, thank you for everything you do to ensure our air safety is at the highest level possible. There's always room for improvement. That's what we're here to do. Thank you.